The chairman posits that he was early in the morning, when you go through his affidavit, visited by a number of individuals, some of whom comprised politicians and some of whom were various eminent persons in the country, and that their intention was not to enhance the credibility of what he was doing. But he tries to conflate this with the visit of the NCSC by saying, connecting it to what had happened that night, that further, that at 10 a.m. in the morning he was informed by Professor Goulier that the team from NLCA had arrived at the Tallying Center, and he later learned that they had proceeded to the office of Deputy Inspector General of Police. Nothing could have been true than the fact that he was rang by Mr. Kinyua, who told him that because of security concern and tension which was arising in the country, arising out of non-transmission, and of course we have had an example on this in previous election, he was sending a team to go and visit him and discuss the issue of security. That notwithstanding, the chairman pretends that this was an issue which he only came to know when he was informed by Professor Goulier. But immediately thereafter, he concedes that he was rang by Mr. Kinyua, but pretends that the call was by Mr. Kinyua to tell him that the team was coming to discuss the succession procedure, which is a matter which, to his knowledge, neither him nor NCSC are involved. The chairman then adopts confess and avoid posture to discredit the mission by conceding that Kinyua indeed called him, but to discuss assumption of office. We know that assumption of office is a process which is statutory, and members of that office had been appointed and are known and are not members of NSAC or persons who went to see him. Further, it could have been stated in the midst of ongoing tension that the NSAC is sending a delegation to discuss assumption of office when the whole country was waiting and tensions were rising, and in fact there was almost a breakdown at Bomas as these things were going on. The mission was led by Kennedy Kihara, who was the only person who addressed the chairman. The other members didn't speak, and the other commissioners of the other commissioners of IBC of NCSAC, Mr. Kennedy Kihara and The mission was led by Kennedy Kihara, who was the only person who addressed the chairman, and the other commissioners of IBC. Mr. Kennedy Kihara, in his affidavit sworn on 28 February 2022, equally confirms that his whole presentation was to express the need to expedite the process of declaring the results and ensuring transparency in order to avert public anxiety. But the attitude of the chairman is exhibited by the contempt by which he treated this team. They were not met when they came. They managed to find where to wait, but they were kept waiting for 4 hours. Members of a security team in the midst of an election where tension was rising. Having led them, the chairman claims that Mr. Kihara proceeded to caution him, among others, that if IEBC declared the results with Honorable Ruto as the president-elect, chaos would erupt, and that the blood of dead Kenyans will be in their hands. But at this time, they were meeting not in the presence of Mr. Kihara and the chairman. They were all contingent of commissioners and the team from the security who comprised 4 other people. And he is trying to allege that an executive, a top executive of government, would have gone and made this declaration in the presence of all these people. This claim is, of course, denied. Mr. Kenywa, as you know, is a top civil servant, he's a top professional, and we all know that in civil service, discretion is the promise of valor. I mean, in fact, they're so discreet that even in normal thing, they would not dare have the public know it. Curiously, the chairman reported the events which unfolded at the Tallying Center on 15th August to the police, and revealed both an OB and also made a statement. There was no mention at all of this heinous act. There's also not any mention of the visit in any of the numerous statements the chairman made. As is common in the divided house of IEBC, the chairman was supported by two commissioners who incidentally also went to the police and made statements, and both also failed an OB, no mention of this incident. On the other hand, the four dissenting commissioners have filed an affidavit dated 28th August, which confirms on behalf of herself and three others that the meeting indeed took place and what was discussed was issues of security, as was indicated by Mr. Keara. The allegations made by the chairman are extremely grave and have irretrievably sullied the conduct of the official concerned, and indeed, if proven, can constitute an offense under Section 12 of the Election Act. The court views such allegations with great gravity. It has been the position of this honorable court that where an election offense is alleged, the evidence should be clear, cogent, certain, and the proof of which the law commands to be beyond reasonable doubt. It cannot be based on allegation on one side, on a team which is known to be divided, each part supporting its position, and on allegations of the chairman without any further proof when he had had an opportunity to indicate what happened and failed to do so. In the result, it is my humble submission that the allegation made cannot fly. All the chairman is doing is selling the character of other people to augment his claim for higher principle and integrity. And at the end of it, nothing comes out of the allegation. Indeed, after that, they proceeded, considered the results which were not ready as at the time this team was there, and announced the result he wanted to announce. Suffice is to say that this team, having met them and being satisfied that the results were being declared, made a statement to the whole country telling them to keep in peace and that all things were okay. And you will find that statement made on 16th in the affidavit of Mr. Kenywa.